You swear there are people who would volunteer to write better rules for free? Yeah, I would, probably. I'd probably volunteer to do it, or at least go through everything and just clean stuff up. Like, go through Beast of Chaos real quick and just, you know, facelift some of the war scrolls so they're even remotely playable. Not, like, amazing, just, like, usable. I could do that, like, a week per army, I think, and I'd have a lot more models that could see table play. Could pay me an exposure. The meme. The absolute meme. As it happens... Leadfoot with the big sub, TY. Oh, it's a big primer. Nice. Nice, dude. Thanks for the support. Hey, HeyWoah, I'm the guy who sent you the War Shrine. Did I like it? I did like it. War Shrine, I never really liked the guys that carry the Howdah, but it's just the perfect setup for putting any other cooler monster underneath it. And a Thunder Tusk is definitely a cool monster, so I fully support it. AOS Coach, I'm going to be on his show, and we're going to talk about, as you can see, I just pulled up his YouTube here, me talking Ogor Maw tribes, Beastclaw Raiders as well. Should be fun. It's part of a series he does where he like has people that do stuff with the armies come in and talk for a while, so it should be enjoyable. Tune in if you feel like it. What up, stream? Hey, Gunmage. I know limited formats don't really work in miniatures games, but is there anything in Realms Endless Spells that could kind of make a limited format for AOS? So here's my understanding of limited, no ticket, is in Magic the Gathering, you know, you get packs of cards and you open them and pass them in a circle and then you build a deck right there. When that translates to Age of Sigmar, I don't see that happening at all, right? It takes so long to build and paint an army that it would be strange to have any sort of limited at all, I think. It could be neat. I think it's more of a sideboard thing. Like, I could see a sideboard be an interesting way to play Age of Sigmar. Like, you show up with 3,000 points, but every game is 2K, but you showed up with 3,000. And then you put your army down, they put their army down. You haven't deployed or set up or anything like that. You just know what faction they're playing because you can see their army. And then you know they're on Bone Splitters. They know you're on Cities of Sigmar. And during deployment, when you're putting each thing down, that's like you putting it into your army list at that moment. And so when you're putting it down, you're like, okay, this, and he has this artifact, and then this, and he has this spell. And you do that until you both get to about 2,000, and then you play. And that probably evens out a lot of the disparities we see between armies, because the weaker army gets to choose units that essentially sideboard against the better army. And the better army probably doesn't have sideboard against the weaker army because they're probably sideboarding against some better army as well, you know? And so I could see that as like a limited version of sideboardy AOS that could be pretty cool. Thoughts on emergency events artifact for KO? Does it last forever? I thought they FAQ'd that. Not in the errata. Let's check the designer's commentary. I don't see any designer's commentary stuff either. We're getting live rules questions here. Once per battle at the start of the enemy shooting phase, you can say that the bearer will use their emergency vent plates. If you do, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target the bearer or any friendly unit wholly within 6 inches of the bearer. You don't believe they addressed it in over 2 facts now? Yeah, this has no end condition, therefore it lasts forever. Did they intend for it to work like this? Probably not, but they've had 2 chances to fix it and they have not, so perhaps they do intend for it to last forever. We can't be certain, and so, yeah, by the rules, this lasts for the rest of the game. Should it? Probably not, but, hey, write better rules then. If my opponent used that on me in a game, I wouldn't be mad, but I'm very laissez-faire about rule as written versus rule as intended. I almost always go rules as written, because I don't want to play some mind-reading guessing game about what some designer may or may not have intended when they wrote some rule. I don't think it's fair to put that sort of a burden on the players of the game. They should just have it do what it says it does, and if it should do something else, then change it. So what does the once per battle mean? It means you can't do that every shooting phase and get a stacking -1 forever. Like Sigil, the once per battle is the clue as to what they intended, but it's not what they wrote, and they should fix it, I think. A lot of people wanted to see the transportability tier list with the obvious caveats. I mean, the reason I didn't do it for my show is because I mean, it depends so much on what list you're going to play, right? It's so different. Oh, big gifter. Nice, dude. Oh, and Martin Orlando, good painter Stormcast man, scooped it up. Well, he deserves it. So nice. You wanted to be on the leaderboard. Well, you're there now. You're on the guest list. Right this way. We tiering? Oh, we tiering. I'm going to have a lot of caveats. It's going to have a lot of caveats because it depends so greatly on how you build your army. Yeah, we have to talk about, we're assuming standard build for transport. If you assume the standard or one of the standard builds for the armies, and are we assuming magnets or no? Is there no magnet assumption? Because we could call S tier having magnets tier. Like S tier itself is just the you have magnets on your guys tier, and that's what it means. You can fly this thing on a plane.
One eternity later.
There we go. How about this? How's this? Shoebox, one display board, or like one board, no worries. Too tall, massive hordes, both, and Sylvaneth. How about that? Sylvaneth is in Sylvaneth. Is anything as bad as Sylvaneth? Multiple boxes of stuff, height problems, hooking on everything, break danger, just has all the things. LRL might be in Sylv tier, just better than it. Standard, oh that's right, yeah, we're not doing custom flight stands. So plus the 2 ships, it's probably like that. If you're using the standard flight, I forget that people actually do that. So you can't fit the bigs in the shoebox. I was being silly. BOC with summoning. I can see it just being massive hordes. It's not that bad, you know. Skaven has both. Guo isn't terribly tall, but you do have a bunch of terrain features and stuff like that. Nurgle is actually rough. Tzeentch is both. What's stopping Fireslayers from being S tier? Magmadroths? Yeah. The only thing stopping them from being a shoebox is Magmadroth, which you may or may not run one of. And I think I'm ready to put Nurgle in the bads. And I think they're worse than IDK. They need more room, but they're less breakable. So yeah, I'll just put them in the bad tier. Yeah, all the elves in the F tier. Interesting. Very interesting. Bone Splitters are just massive hordes. There's just a billion of them, that's all. That's the problem. Same with STD for the most part. Unless you're using Archaon, then it's both. Free people have a bunch of hordes, plus some things that are too tall. But they're like the least problematic about it. Khorne doesn't really have like massive hordes necessarily. It can. But I think Khorne is just too tall for the most part. Because I got those 3 Bloodthirsters. I don't know. Your Khorne lists can really vary. You have a lot of variance with your Khorne lists. So I might have to split it up or something. Unrelated, but a decent kit bash for the most Horntails is to snip it short and cap the end with an Ogre Fist weapon. Nice. I like it. You don't really have massive hordes. You're just too tall for KO. Your man is sort of too tall, but you don't really have massive hordes. You're actually sort of fine. I think this is fine. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine. This is too tall, but you don't have massive hordes. You have definitely massive hordes, but you're not necessarily too tall. Archaon is your dream model. It's a big undertaking. It's hard to paint, but it's very rewarding. Daughters of Cain is definitely too tall and massive hordes. Since a lot of your Chaos Dwarf army, Legion of Asgore, is dependent on what 400 points of allies you use, that's going to wildly determine like what you do with it. Because they don't really, like, they don't have any allegiance abilities. Like, they basically didn't give them anything. So you have to kind of acquire your own allegiance abilities by using all 400 points of your allies, and that could be anything. So it really depends on that one. Gloomspite has both because of their terrain feature. Oh, that's right. OBR. I forgot about the Bone Tithe Nexus for whatever reason. That thing is so huge. It is unreasonably large. Yeah, it is unreasonably big. But I still think 3 Bloodthirsters is worse. And then Beastclaw is too tall, obviously, but not massive hordes. This one, Ironjaws might be too tall if you're playing a Mock Russia. It sort of depends. This might be how it ends up. Alright, here's the transport tier. Strictly Gutbusters can fit in a shoebox. It doesn't matter. It's so easy. Same with Fire Slayers unless they have a Magmadroth. Stormcast, for the most part, you don't have anything too tall or too hardy. If you're running a Celestin Prime, obviously you do, but it's still not that bad. Same with Legions of Asgore. You only have to worry about the Ghoul King on Terrorgeist here, and aside from that, all your guys are just chunky little... they're just little crab people with wiggly stuff all over their backs. You're going to have to worry about the too tall on the Keepers of Secrets and the Bone Tithe Nexus and Catacross himself over here. But the catapults, as long as you don't glue the thing, you can put the catapults down, so those are fine. You have a lot of terrain features and summoned stuff and tap dancing bloodthirsters, so you're definitely too tall. If you're more mortals, you might be also massive hordes. So I could see Khorne being in the both. If you're a mixed kind of Khorne, you could be the both. KO might as well. You got those ships and they're rough, they're really tall, but your guys are mostly very short and durable, depending on how many balloons you have. Beastclaw, your guys are simply too tall. And they're like way too tall, and they're all the same, and so you have to find like a massive box for them. It's not like you could just carry around or just have like Nagash with you, but when you have 5 of the same thing that are way too tall, now you have to find a solution for it. It's actually rough. Got a bunch of massive hordes that aren't too tall. That's probably the sweet spot to be in. That's probably better than too tall, actually, unless it's so massive that you can't do it in one trip. And then you have armies in both. Wait, this is not in both. It's simply too tall. But it might be like way, way, way too tall, so. And here we have both, and then Sylvaneth tier, where Sylvaneth is at the end. But there's some Elven and Nurgle friends along. Would Jaws of Mork be F tier? Refresh my memory on what this thing is. Oh, that's the Squiggleange thing, right? Yeah, White Dwarf 455? Yeah, okay. That would be in probably just too tall, and not all the way down in both, I think. Because you are going to have a lot of Mangler Squigs, which are certainly too tall. You're not going to have those 60 or 120 Stabas to really make it the worst of both worlds. Because it's like a reasonably elite army for the most part. You just have a bunch of Squigs. And then a bunch of, what are they called? The Boingy Boys and stuff. You have several monsters that are each sort of too tall. And then a bunch of cavalry stuff that sort of you can just kind of put near them or underneath them around the box. So I feel like it's going to be very similar to transporting KO or transporting Beastclaw. Also, the list is super fun. It has my endorsement. And GW released that FAQ where it's legal forever now. You don't have to worry about, publication coming out and you can't play it anymore, which people were concerned about. And they addressed it, which was a great thing. Same with Legion of Grief, all the other White Dwarf stuff, like all that stuff is going to be printed in like digital books now, and you can play that stuff, which is sweet. You're committed to Fire Slayers for now, but goddamn, I'm gonna try and speedrun them so you can get some Boingy Boys. Dude, Boingy Boys are sick. They have some consistency issues, but they're hilarious and fun. And that's what you play Gloomspite for. Those Geats. So you can see why I didn't do this for a show. Like 23 out of the 27 armies are kind of rough to transport in Age of Sigmar. Because they really just tried to make the models as giant and creative and cool as they can, which we like, but they definitely do not consider transporting them when they're making them, that's for sure. Oh well, get a big storage tub, magnetize your stuff. That's the price we pay.